Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, June 20th. It's the day of the week that we go ahead and turn our broadcast time back to 10 p.m. London time. How about that? Well, let's call it UK time for all of our friends across the pond, and 11 o'clock for everyone over in Europe. Welcome, my friends, to the weekly Saturday episode of Disclosure Tonight. We got a lot of stuff to get in here tonight, so let's go ahead and welcome in our audience. It's a live show. We got to welcome in the audience, except if I could find the button I can click to go ahead and show the audience here. Oh, there it is. Participants. Who in the heck do we have out there? Right, we've got Amanda in the chat along with Andrew Davies. A. Phil's out there along with Eliza Teal. Good to see you, Elvis. And we got Francis and Geraldine's out in the chat along with Jericho. Joe Has Gas, King Bull 90s, and we got Mississippian, Mr. Joey B, Psychosomatic Addict Insane. We got Schlato and Super Unknown. Good to see you, Wasteland Wonder. Wef Boomer Groomer, I guess, and also our dear friend Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. How about that? Small audience in the chat. Remember, folks, join the chat. It's where the fun is at. On that note, let's go ahead and jump into the studio and say those three magic words. Mike, Mike, Mike. How the hell are you, my friend? You're muted, Mike.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
You're
tonight. I think we have quite a few interesting things to talk about with what's going on over there.
Your audio
in
started breaking up from when you were first talking, so you may want to restart that.
Okay. I said we're going to be having a good Saturday show for our international audience today. There are a lot of things that are going on over there in Great Britain, and we have a lot to talk about. I think it's going to be a fun conversation, as always, Thomas.
Yes, absolutely. But one thing before we get into it, Mike, we were talking last night about the UAP Disclosure Fund. That's what they used to be called. We were talking about their taxes, what happened to them, because, you know, all that kind of information is public. When they were a 501c4, which is an organization, they're not nonprofit, where you can go ahead and donate money to it, but you can't write it off in your taxes. But besides their name changing from the UAP Disclosure Fund, they changed their name to Disclosure Foundation. Mike, what do the documents show?
Yeah, they changed their name to the UAP Disclosure Foundation because when they were the UAP Disclosure Fund, they were filing under a 501c4. And as you just stated, if you made a donation to that organization, you weren't able to take it as a deduction off of your taxes. As a result of that, they have to file each and every year with the IRS how much money they received coming in. And if you are a charity nonprofit and you receive $50,000 or less every year, you could submit an expedited form called a 994N, like a little postcard, because there's really nothing to declare on there. So they submitted that for the 501c4 status that they had last year. Now they changed it to the UAP Disclosure Foundation, and they're refiling under as a 501c3, which means if you donate to them, because I don't believe they got any donations with the previous tax code, but I think now they're trying to open the doors up to have people that are going to submit donations to them so they actually start to receive some income and be able to write it off at the end of the year. So there's been a lot of changes from then to now. But if you remember when they first came out, and you and I covered it on the show, and we went over the 501c4 status that they were using, we said it then. No one is going to do that. Who would contribute without receiving anything back in return? Out of the goodness of their heart?
Maybe
not
there's
with
some
an unknown organization.
Like to call them in the online gaming world, people who have like unlimited funds. But from what we've heard, even people like Peter Thiel have been resistant and even throwing out money towards the Soul Foundation.
Right, but we also know that even wealthy people with money to burn, it's very important for them to have tax coverage and be able to get write-offs at the end of the year.
Well, even your average person, it's always good to have write-offs.
Of course, because that's what the incentive is, to dig deep and send money to these organizations. And if they're not going to provide that for you, you're not really incentivized to do anything if you don't want to.
Right.
We called them schmucks for setting it up like that back then. So it took them time to realize that we were right all along, and they changed their tax filing status because they were not getting any money in like they expected they would.
Right. Interesting, as they say who we are, which you would expect it would go to who's on our board. The Disclosure Foundation is a nonpartisan nonprofit advancing the public disclosure and scientific understanding of unidentified anomalous phenomena through policy leadership, legal action, and public education. As we know, Avi Loeb is one of their board members, and he's been instrumental, unfortunately, in ways which we'll get into as time goes on, for bringing together a scientific council about UAP.
Yeah, but getting back to the UAP Disclosure Foundation, formerly known as the fund, they also were taking donations and trying to apply it towards lobbying, if you remember, on the disclosure topic.
Well, it was lobbying, but also supposedly to pay for legal fees for whistleblowers and other stuff along those lines.
Right, but upon further examination, since they started the organization, any and all lobbying funds have to be recorded and filed. And on behalf of the Disclosure Fund, they have contributed zero the entire time towards lobbying. Not one penny.
Really?
So, yeah, really. So a lot as far as their mission statement and what they've actually done and what they've actually received is going through massive changes now moving forward.
Yeah. Well, we've got an interesting comment from King Bull in the audience. Let me pause this for a second and bring it back up. The issue is that these people claim to know UFO information that will bring UFO disclosure, yet only want to release little bits of information for money from their followers. It's grifting. Well, I don't think they're quite grifting at this point. And an organization like the UAP Disclosure Foundation or the Disclosure Foundation, they're not in control of what's being brought forward. They are going ahead, putting together panels. There's a 71-page document we're going to have to dig into one of these days that they have on the psychological impacts of UAP and NHI disclosure. Well, I'd say it's something we could jump in today. It's something I just became aware of. But, Mike, it's 71 pages long.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they go into a lot of different stuff in here with, well, I guess we're going to have to, deal with this information, one page at a time, literally, because there's a lot of stuff in here, but they are putting a lot of time and effort, and they've got a relatively large panel of different people who worked on this. And if I get back to, it should say who was working on it front. They've got PhD, a psychologist, another psychologist with PhDs, a clinical psychologist with a PhD, another postdoctoral research at Harvard University, hosted by Avi Loeb. And we've got another associate professor of psychology. And we've got yet another clinical psychology and pathology professor. So we've got a bunch of people who are used to, if you want to call it, looking into people's minds and understanding what they're saying. So I guess you can look at it grifting, but no, grifting, if you want to call a grifter, Mike.
DC Muscle Wolf.
DC Muscle Wolf, yes. Steve Greer. He's the guy who charges you, what, $5,000,
$25,000 for a spaghetti dinner. Yeah, wonderful. That's not too much of a ripoff.
Yeah.
Mark.
But that doesn't include CE5 sessions. That's extra.
Those are extra, as always.
Yeah, so
exactly.
That's grifting, and we just have to look at it. If people are putting time into it and there's a regular work product and it's servicing a purpose, you could say that depending on what your job is, King Bull, you could be considered a grifter for working a job and getting paid an hourly wage. Not that I would ever say that about you, but it's just an example of we just have to realize who's a grifter and what's their end goal.
Right.
Oh yeah, he has. Stephen Greer has apparently faked UFO sightings in the past down in Florida when there was a flight school and they had a bunch of people out there for a pay-for-play event, and there was a
Cessna.
Greer had it down to the time and effort, was pointing out in the distance, telling people to go ahead and watch, and there were these big light explosions going off in the distance, and it was flares dropped by, apparently it was researched by reputable journalists at the time, and they found there was a flight school who actually had a flight plan that was flying in the exact same location at that time. So, yes, clear path, grifters are going to grift.
They are, and even the pilot of the Cessna came forward and exposed Greer for what he was doing at the time.
Right.
Because I guess he didn't get paid off enough.
No.
Interesting, but
unfortunately. Now, we've gone down this little rabbit hole for a bit. We'll be coming back here in a bit, but what we're talking about today is our top, one of our top topics is, why do we need a scientific advisory board coming from Dr. Gary Nolan, reputable person within the UFO arena? Someone who's donated a lot of his time, a lot of research, and put stuff into it. Someone who's definitely not a grifter, eh, Mike?
No, he's used his own money out of pocket to cover this research. So that's not somebody who's taking money from the public on false pretenses. He's not a grifter.
Right. Now, Gary is one little bright spot. There's a couple bright spots in the scientific panel that we've got out there, but there's some, you could call him a skeptic, Mike, but Shermer,
a debunker is more
Michael
like it.
Shermer, he's more of a debunker than he would be considered an actual grifter. Well, he's just a debunker. He's not a skeptic.
Right. No. Shermer is a schmuck. I agree.
Right. Or a putz.
Yep.
We got to start using those words equally.
Yeah. They equally work, yeah.
So why do we need a scientific advisory board? Let's get to it. Actually, you know what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to grab this. I think I can put it at the top. There we go. And that ain't going to work. Never mind. Everyone's going to know where it's coming from. All right, so let's get into it. Gary posted. He posted this, I guess, about an hour into our show last night, so let's hit it. As it has been widely reported, the U.S. government has asked Professor Avi Loeb of the Department of Astronomy at Harvard University, see the main announcement at the end of this post. We've already covered that, unfortunately, to create a UAP advisory council. The members of this advisory group span a range of disciplines from astronomy, psychology, physics, biology, data analytics. Or said he said psychology twice.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs and more. Maybe he put psychology on there twice for a reason. I am thrilled to have been invited alongside a notable list of scientists, academics, entrepreneurs, debunkers, and others. What follows are my personal thoughts, are not official position of the UAP Advisory Council. Dr. Loeb has already elaborated on the formation of the council, along with his views through postings on his blog and in public interviews. Importantly, no one on the council has been asked to sign any non-disclosure agreements. We are told that we are free to discuss matters that come before the board, but without attribution of the source. This is something called the Chatham House Rules. By the same token, I am not obliged to answer any questions either. I plan to treat this effort like I do my job in cancer immunology, not talking publicly about results until I am sure the answer is as close to correct as I can determine. So I guess what he's saying here, Mike, is we're not going to get a play-by-play that's going to come out and release information as people are talking about it. He's going to wait until,
they have potential answers on something or not.
Bingo, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how does this advisory council come to be? Well, one answer is simple. Through the dedicated action of thousands of individuals across decades, the coming forward of credible military and government officials and public testimony, sometimes under oath, the work of members of Congress and the Senate, along with testimonials of public witnesses and much more. Collectively, which kind of makes sense, it's all the efforts, Mike, that got us to where it is today. However, let's see if he gets into how we actually got to the council, because that kind of says how we got here. but it doesn't say how the council came to be. How did they reach out to Avi, etc.? How did this whole thing happen? Collectively, these actions have led to the extraordinary and courageous decision by President Donald J. Trump and his administration to release public U.S. government-owned UAP-related files and information as vetted by a UAP governance board and other government agencies. As publicly announced, our group will report to the UAP governing board, which is under the direction of the executive branch. Yep. So which means...
That's now under new leadership, by the way.
What do you mean?
And the old leader, the ODNI is under new leadership right now.
Right, but what they're saying is it's under the direction of the executive branch.
Right. Maybe
involving the executive branch, but also involving different arms of it, including the ODNI, in the Department of War, and I think they also mentioned the FBI.
They did mention the FBI.
Notably missing from that list, Mike, is the Department of Energy, where all research on any kind of energy platforms that they would try and reverse engineer is missing, and the CIA, who has been known to be involved in crash retrievals.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, shoot downs and
80
retrievals.
Years plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we know that. But listen, the last ODNI, Tulsi Gabbard, on her last day, we covered this on the show last night, she went all scorched earth on the COVID-19 pandemic on her last day in office. So that's something that we can talk about again today as well.
Yeah, too bad she didn't go scorched earth on UFOs.
Well, we were hoping, but yeah, too bad.
You know, if hopes and dreams were peaches and creams, Mike, I'd be 500 pounds.
Right. You and me both.
There we go. So many people have openly wondered, quote, why create a new board when elements of the government or even commercial institutions already, allegedly, know the answer, end quote. The UAP Advisory Council doesn't have any funding, and we don't have subpoena power. We are all volunteers. We advise. Given that, there are some straightforward answers to the criticisms and commentary I have seen. Ooh. See what he says. Now, if you guys haven't known this in the audience, Gary Nolan is all over X all the time.
Yep.
So he keeps an eye on what people are saying. So first, I appreciate the complexity of what UAP might represent. It is not definable in a single technological or cultural framework. It is so complex that even I, who've been steeped in the matter for over 15 years, have a hard time encompassing the breadth of explanations from, quote, it's real and it's here, end quote, to, quote, it's all misidentification, end quote. Oh, I think he's talking about Michael Shermer there. My mind spins trying to make sense of it all. What is clear is that the data released so far is not enough. The anecdotes are not enough. Sure, interesting videos, but where's the metadata? What are the parameters of how the data was collected? Why are there extreme redactions of files and data? Why the incredible pushback? Where are the alleged retrieved technologies? There is simply not enough to convince me when I put on my serious scientist hat. And this is something we've been pointing out, Mike. But everything is overly redacted. I mean, the only way we've gotten some of the information about exactly where some of these videos were taken and some of the releases was the release of data stolen by the United States government in the possession of Jeremy Corbell, who actually released these videos, if you remember. We were able to get all the metadata, so we know the data that's out there is present because we've seen copies of it.
Yes, we have. You're right. Which is interesting.
Right. You know, what are the parameters of how the data was collected? What platform specifically was it recorded on? What kind of cameras were they using? What was the distance of the object that they knew? What was the setup of the camera lens when they were going ahead and recording this kind of stuff? All of those things all come together to give the answer of what the fuck are we looking at?
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we still haven't gotten that information clearly from the government.
No, not at all. So yet, what I do know is that the question of what it might be will not go away while the data remains locked up. That's true. The answers to what... Now, one thing I want to get back to. Where's the metadata? What are the parameters, how the data was collected? All these things. We've been given guidance on this from a source who's relatively close to this, that they're working on this in addition to the whistleblower executive order to try and bring the data out and the metadata out eminently, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yes.
Whenever we use that word, you guys will know where it's coming from.
Yep. It's the title of the same book. So, yeah, not a mystery.
Yeah. Yet what I do know is the question of what it might be and will not go away while the data remains locked up. The answers to what any data might mean requires a comprehensive effort across disciplines that expand well beyond quote unquote nuts and bolts science.
Yeah. There we go.
Who's the one who says nuts and bolts all the time?
Our good friend Lou.
Lou says I'm a nuts and bolts guy.
He is.
Yeah. Hence the broad makeup of the team that comprises the UAP Advisory Council. It's the UAP Science Advisory Council, just to be clear so everybody knows. Every person on the board is, I believe, devoted to taking a logical step, a logical and deeply skeptical approach. Okay, he just covered everybody, including Shermer, this matter. But I would say Shermer is more than a skeptic. He's a debunker.
Right. And I would say Avi Loeb falls into that same category.
Yeah,
from what
he
we've
does.
seen of his track record, yeah.
Anything that's on planet Earth, it can't be real. It must be an optical illusion. But if he
Or a
talks
Chinese balloon.
talk about all of his, what do you call it? If he talks about any of his interstellar objects, suddenly it all becomes potentially an alien probe.
Right. Because he has an agenda to try to get $1 billion for research out of the government. So then it's something that they should be interested in. And if not, then it's just prosaic and Chinese Luft balloons.
Yeah. Kelly Bro brings out, how about this? Show us all the unredacted stuff. Yes, we all deserve to see it. The scientists want to see it. And if they take it and release that information, Mike, it's not just going to go to the scientists. It's going to go to everyone in the general public because it has to be unclassified. Because remember, these guys are not dealing with NDAs. They're not dealing with any classified data at this point, at least so they've been told.
Well, we know Gary, when he was working with the CIA on the Havana syndrome and the people who were harmed by close contact with UAP craft, he did have NDAs in place with the CIA, but on this council, he's not going to be accessing any classified information. None of them will. So you're right.
Really quick, I want to go ahead. Actually, that's not a word. I'll let it go. Phase will go on there. Turn off.
I got a super chat.
And we got a super chat in from Phase Will. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that super chat. We're a fan-funded program, and thank you for being a regular supporter of our show. We greatly appreciate it. All right. On that note, if you're jumping in, you haven't subscribed to Disclosure tonight yet, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular. If you have subscribed, you haven't checked your bell, check it to get notifications. We won't bother you too much, only to let you know when the next show is happening, and also to give you an idea if we're not having a show that night. We appreciate it. Okay.
And we sometimes have surprise shows and announcements. So you'll be notified if you subscribe.
Yes, and we have a double your money back guarantee, Mike.
We do. The cost is always free. And with that, we'll even give you a double your money back guarantee. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
And if you haven't given us a thumbs up, please remember to do so. We've got 65 likes so far and about 200 people watching. I greatly appreciate that. Why? Because it helps me help you to go ahead and share all this information. Nick, yes, I did see you gave us a post, but we're right in the middle of something. Does your video have anything to do with this? Be patient. We'll get to it. I promise. Here we go. For me, despite my widely known bias that I think there's something deeper to the matter than misidentification, I remain, like any scientist, a trained skeptic at heart. I am terrified of making a mistake, but I have yet to reach a formal conclusion despite my public musings. I can believe a thing might be true, but as a scientist, I must believe enough in the possibility of an idea being true to justify my time and effort to prove it myself, and more so, to prove it to my colleagues or the lay public. Basically, what he's saying is, Mike, you just can't believe this stuff is true and go along with it. You need to find the facts. You need to believe in the facts that come forward, if they're good enough, to help take us to that next level.
But even more to the point, his final statement, I think, says a lot about who Gary is and what it is with the work that he's doing. Because basically, in a nutshell, what he just said is that even though he doesn't have the direct proof on this subject, that he believes in it enough to where he will put his time, effort, and money into trying to establish it being true for his colleagues and the public. That says a lot about who he is and what he's doing. It does.
And it's a different approach than what Avi Loeb has.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Now, there is data that, when contextualized, here we go, when contextualized as a hypothesis, becomes evidence that invites us to wonder whether the answer to "are we alone" might be sitting right in front of us, but we choose to ignore it or let others tell us it should be ignored. Remember, data is only evidence towards supporting a conclusion when you pose a question, with this hypothesis, around what the data means. But evidence is not a conclusion. Evidence is what you put in front of a jury where the data has been sufficiently scrubbed of doubt to allow one to decide what it means. And we've talked about this for a while, Mike, where basically, where is disclosure going to end up in the public court of opinion? Meaning that we have a lot of statements that a lot of people say on a regular basis. Oh, Gary is trustful, is hypersonic. Come on. You've been around long enough to see that. But
yeah, Gary has nothing to gain. He's not out for people's money.
Yeah.
He's not grifting.
No. And he's not an agent. He's completely independent for what's going on, which is a good thing. Andy, your hand is up.
Yeah, I have to say, from all of this subject and everything I've seen of Gary Nolan, I've never seen him once go out basically cap in hand begging for money, unlike a certain other person who seems to prostitute themselves out there for any dime or shekel that seems to be going.
In other words, there's no pay-for-play disclosure.
Yeah, I've never seen Gary Nolan chart. Well, not what I know of, So yeah, I think he's on the level. Yeah.
And it's not like Gary Nolan is going on a cruise and inviting everybody to come along to go ahead and see the UFOs, which we've seen a lot of people. Greer has done this down in the Caribbean with all the great sargassum seaweed going on. Perfect timing, Steve. And then you've got what's his name? Chris Bledsoe, who's doing a cruise going up to Alaska, I believe, on the West Coast coming up in September.
Yeah, and as well with Gary Nolan, he's a scientist. He is going out and doing the work for himself. He's not, pushing it onto other people to deal with. So, if anybody in this subject is trustworthy, I believe Gary Nolan is.
I can tell you why he is, Andy. The man personally holds over 50 U.S. patents, meaning he is financially well off and independent. He doesn't need $1 from the public or the government or anybody. So that makes him more trustworthy than somebody who is constantly looking to dig their hand in the public's pocket. In my opinion.
He's along with I've lost his name. The one who was with I've lost it now. No, I'll pass on that. I've hit the age of 54. I think I'm on Alzheimer's, but yeah, it'll come to me in half an hour.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it, mate. It'll come back. But Gary Nolan falls into the category like if Elon Musk was pursuing disclosure, no one would think he's grifting the public of money. That's the last man that would need to do something like that.
Here we go. How about this? Kelly Broad says Gary Nolan was responsible for the immunotherapy that saved my life.
There you go. That says it right there.
Yeah.
And it isn't just like he's a big as far as on disclosure. He does cancer research, which he has a lot of his U.S. patents on. So he does really life-saving cancer medical research that he has made a career for himself doing. So, yeah, that tells me that he is trustworthy beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. And he's looking for the truth. He doesn't need any of this stuff. He's a self-made man for all the different patents that he's created and all the different medications that he's brought forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. He is not anybody that's out there trying to defraud or put out disinformation for anybody. There's no reason for him to do that. None. He's not looking to get he's not looking to get $1 billion out of Congress like Avi Loeb is trying to do.
Yeah. True that, my friend. I guess I could rename the channel The Disclosure Tonight, but I've always left it as my name because that's how I set up this channel back in 2009. Whenever it was. People are saying, why doesn't I change the channel name to Disclosure Tonight? Because it's me. You know what I mean? It opens the doors for me to do more stuff. I guess I could change the channel name then, but either way, I'm just reaching out, breaking that third wall in the audience. All right.
Well, listen, you and I have talked about that for a while now, making a Disclosure Tonight as far as the channel. So they're not bringing up anything that we haven't already discussed
in the past, but at least we're giving them the insight. We're not afraid to discuss these types of things. Let me tell you.
Right. We wanted to make the brand of the show and expand and maybe get into some other things. So we've had conversations like this already.
Oh, yeah. You know, on Thursday, when we didn't have the show, we could have came on and talked about the papers that Tulsi Gabbard had declassified on COVID.
Right.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it's huge.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into this. There, actually, Jay and one other person has their hand up. You two go ahead, and first Jay and then Andy.
Yes, I'll be very quick, Thomas. The video that Nick wanted to show you, I've already emailed to you and downloaded. It's about a person who spent 300 days in Antarctica looking for alien bases and other UFO items that were in Antarctica. This is a documentary filmmaker who's trying to promote his thing that's coming out. He was looking for stuff up there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It's in your email, though. You got it.
I'm planning to cover it. I just didn't want to go ahead and drop this conversation and say,
no,
look,
and I understand.
Shiny.
That's why I took the liberty to download it myself and send it to your email. So when you're ready to cover it, you have it already downloaded.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I can just, since I do that here, it'll be quicker for me to go ahead and just copy this, put that down. I've got my downloader here already there, and it's downloading it. Perfect. Thank you for reminding me. It's short. It's only, we'll get there. We'll cover it.
Yeah, it's like 24 megabytes.
Thank you, sir. Andy, your hand is up.
Yeah, it was Chris Mellon that I wanted to, mention because, him and Gary Nolan, they're people that have got a hell of a lot more to lose financially, researching and being in and around this subject than the vast majority of people. So
I'm in the same boat. I'm a professional. I'm like a solution architect, software architect kind of a guy. I could easily pull in, a couple $100 an hour for the time I put into anything, literally, if not more. So not saying bragging where it is, but yes, we have a vested interest in this. For me, it started in 1973, and whether I liked it or not, I was not in control of that situation. That's why I'm doing this today. I'm not into this because, oh wow, UFOs are popular, I want to get in this, be a part of it. No, I got dragged into this shit when I was 5 years old, and it's something that kind of changes you. If we can get to that point about bringing some of this truth out, it's going to move us all forward. But the money does come in.
Yep.
for the show. I'll admit that. We get super chats. That money gets put back into the show. And maybe at the end of the year, after all the expenses and everything that goes on and the funding that we do for things here and there, maybe I've made $1,000 for the year. Profit.
Which usually goes back into technical equipment for the show that we end up using.
Yeah.
We every year, if there's any money that comes in over and above, it usually goes back into new equipment that is
all the money that comes in goes into equipment, and maybe after the end of the year I'll have like 1,000 or so left over that I actually get to report to my taxes as income for what we're doing here. But it should be as tips, because it's what
and
super
also
chats are.
The internet fees that you guys pay to have your program, like your chat room. I know you pay extra for that to run.
For the data connection, I've got a 1 gigabit symmetrical on fiber up and down to the house, and so I don't need to have something like StreamYard because.
Hey Thomas, I'd like to have a poll out there for who thinks that we should have a Disclosure Tonight barbecue live edition, where everybody gets together, and we're barbecuing and having, a barbecue.
I've got 35 pounds of pork sitting right out about 20 feet from me. Right now, that's on the smoker.
That's what I'm talking about, right there.
But it's all wrapped up in foil. It's got to go to at least 4 o'clock Pacific, if not 5 o'clock. I've got the thermometer to go ahead and slide in to see how tender it is and make sure it gets to at least internal temperature of 205 degrees.
My freaking mouth is watering. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah. Supposedly the smoker I have is very difficult to control for the average citizen, not me. The way I've got that smoker set up, I can keep it parked sitting at 225 degrees for as many hours as I want, and I don't have to do shit.
Thomas, we have a poll.
We do. Should we have a barbecue live edition? Okay. There we go. All right. Well, that means I have to go ahead and get the sound effects up. There we go. There's that sound effect we all love to hate so much, but it signifies we've got a poll going. Should we have a barbecue live edition? 74% of the audience says yes. 28% of the audience is saying no, and it's going down. Yes and no. We'll see where it goes. Okay, Google. Set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, 1 minute.
See, the kick is to get yours to kick in is if I have to do that slow intro first and then pause for it to respond and listen and then say the rest.
That wasn't mine. That was somebody else.
Oh, yours didn't kick off.
No.
Oh, wow. 1 minute 13 left. We've got 40 votes in, folks. It's a fun little... We'll get back to this stuff shortly. So far, 62% of our audience says, yes, we should have a barbecue live edition. But the smoke, I can't pull. I could pull the pork live during the show, but it's not going to be ready until the show's over with. But then after it comes out of the oven, which is the smoker's oven outside, I have to pull it in, wrap it in towels, put it in a cardboard box, and let it sit for another 3 hours. So I'll take pictures for everybody. All right. Thank you, Daryl. With just 38 seconds left, I guess we're going to have a barbecue live edition, Daryl.
You did the Thanksgiving live edition that one time, and it was very entertaining. I don't know what you could do on this one. You're out there smoking in your 3/4 inch stick.
5:30. Well, I set everything up last night, put the charcoal in it, the whole thing, got the smoker cleaned up, got everything done last night. And then this morning, I got 5:30. I got out of bed, went down there, squeezed all the frickin', starter fluid all over it to get the charcoal going, because you need the charcoal as a base in addition to the full-size wood logs you put in there, hickory, of course. But then, as that got up and going, it wasn't going good enough, so I didn't bring out the canned air this time. I brought out the leaf blower. And I put that right down into the firebox, got everything going, and... Oh, God.
And sprayed soot all over your neighbors' houses.
I told you about the fog of war. Yeah, they had the fog of war. It was all the gray stuff, the gray ash that was in the bottom of the smoker.
The wall of fog.
I blew out the smoker, and I literally put up a fog of war like you have in old video games and stuff, where this stuff was just like, you couldn't see a foot or two into it. The entire neighborhood disappeared for a short period of time.
Hey, Daryl, they want to know in the back chat if you show up to the barbecue and they show up to the barbecue, are they allowed to drive your car?
No.
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 No, Daryl's going to pull up in a red Cadillac. He's promised me that.
A red limo.
Oh,
There you
Red
go.
limo.
With Andy.
there we go. All right, let's take a screenshot of this for posterity. So apparently, Daryl, thank you. We're going to have to do a barbecue edition live
Someday. Jay, thanks for the poll.
Yes. All right.
That's
now,
right.
Hold on a second. My bladder is calling. I'm old. I've got neck issues, which has given me. Well, I've had a problem with my bladder since I'm a kid. Mike, Jay.
Yeah.
Guys,
DJ and
I'm
Daryl.
verklempt. I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Sure. So, what, Jay,
How's
this
the weather?
documentary that you took a look at, did he find anything in Antarctica?
I didn't
You
go
said-
over the entire thing yet because I'm on here with you guys.
Yeah, you said it was short though, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 minutes long, I think, and it's like 28 megabytes or something. It's this guy talking about this preview of a documentary film that he's trying to make, that he spent 300 days in Antarctica and was looking for alien bases, underground tunnels, and apparently he found some stuff, and he's going to come out with it in this documentary.
Right. So this kind of goes back, Jay, to the discussion that we usually have about these individuals, call it journalists or people that are filmmakers. They have these amazing discoveries that they want to share with the public, but for some reason it usually comes out in the form of a book or a documentary or some pay-per-view event that the public has to pay for first. They don't just release it and put it out there for everybody to see. It gives the topic a bad name, because if it was truly for the truth to come out and for the public to find out what's actually going on, they wouldn't be looking to charge people money to do that. We say this time and time again about different people that take this approach. And I wish that for once we would have people doing this kind of work that weren't looking to get paid to share the results with the public of what they found or didn't find. So it's disappointing every time I see something like this going on, and usually not much comes of it. And then, of course, the public gets to bitch and rant that they're only doing this because they're out for money, which they're not wrong. They've got a good point when they say that. I wish these people would stop doing that and just start putting things out for everybody to see on the work that they're doing. They can get credit for the work that they've done, obviously, and be recognized for that. But to try to get paid and reach into everybody's pocket, that's where it starts to go south.
All right,
So
for those who haven't seen it, I'm back. If you
Okay.
haven't seen this before, that is my smoker. And as I said before, the temperature is parked literally at 225 degrees. I don't lie. That is literally parked at 225 degrees.
What does that mean? All year round? What do you mean?
No,
it's parked
when
there?
I'm running it and I've got a fire going and down in here, and the fire comes out of here, the heat comes out of here, goes through the smoker, and I've got, this is the pipe where the heat comes out, but I actually extend the pipe down to being level with this part of the smoker, so it heats up the oven really nicely before letting all the air out. Just putting my fuel into the smoker on the left side and then letting it sit there for a period of time. I mean, the temperature literally stays parked at 225 degrees as I keep on adding more fuel into it. It doesn't go up or down.
Very interesting.
What's the old saying? Set it and forget it, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Now back to the story. All right, so there is data that, when contextualized as hypothesis, becomes evidence that invites us to wonder whether the answer to, quote, are we alone, end quote, might be sitting right in front of us, but we choose to ignore it or let others tell us it should be ignored. Remember, data is only evidence towards supporting a conclusion. And when you pose a question around what the data means, but evidence is not a conclusion. Evidence is what you put in front of a jury where the data has been sufficiently scrubbed of doubt to allow one to decide what it means. I guess we already did this part as in with the public court of opinion. So back to, why do we need a scientific advisory board? Well, we all want objective, even subjective expertise to interpret whether whatever data comes our way. Even if tomorrow if a saucer landed in Times Square, we would still need a swath of expertise to interpret what opens the door, how it got here, what it might be the intent. Better to be prepared, in my opinion. I think the only thing we're going to get is, I guess, to interpret what opens the door. That's about the aliens, how it got here. The government may not want to tell us how it got here, or what the intent might be. But, all we want to know, at least me here, Daryl, is I would like to know, what are they doing here? Period. That's it. If there's one question we could ask, what the fuck are they doing here? I want to know all of it. Then from there, that's their intent. What are they doing? Not the intent of, why are they doing these things here? I want to know, what specifically are they doing here? Because they may not give us anything else, or they may just give us what was Ludo's always saying, Mike. We're not going to get we're not going to get them to go ahead and say yes, it's here. All we're going to get is an acknowledgement, nothing more. But I think we're beyond those days, aren't we?
Well, if not beyond, we're rapidly approaching those days. I think we still need more data and more things to come out that haven't come out yet. You and I know that.
It looks like we're going to be having a little bit of turbulence heading up. Please follow the sign, and please buckle your seatbelts.
Exactly.
Have
patience.
Patience. Don't be afraid.
That's another thing. No, listen. Yesterday on last night's show, we had an audience member that was saying that they were impatient, if you remember. And they couldn't wait. They want the answers now. Give everything now. The reality of it is that the government has been keeping this a secret from us for over 80 years already. And we've come much farther in the last few years than we have in the last 80. So however long it takes for them to get the rest of it out, a little patience is in order at this time moving forward, because we've come further now than we have in the past. So it's pretty much common sense at this point. We're just going to have to wait and see what comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see what comes out. But Daryl, my God, we just jumped the shark on that one. Remember the toy when you were a kid called Stretch Armstrong?
Oh yeah, with the syrup in it.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I thought we're going to go back to Stretching Gretchen again. His sister.
No. Oh yeah.
Gene Stickel wasn't around for that. Gene's in the back. He probably he needs to be informed.
Yeah.
It's his sister, Gene. Oh God, I'm almost through this, and we'll get Gene up here next. My God. Well, we obviously risk this is a misdirection from some of the essential truth, or what that might be used in some elaborate disinformation campaign. We are also aware that we might be in for the possibility there is simply nothing there but elaborate stories and misidentifications. But wait, I can tell you
There's
this.
more.
The risk is worth it. We have come further than ever before to open the door, or Pandora's box, to a potentially incredible opportunity. Quote, are we alone? End quote. Might be answered as, we are one of many. Coming to know what others might have already learned about the nature of reality, for me, is well worth the effort. Ask the question. One way or the other, I believe humanity can handle the answer. Now, if I could, we do have someone in the back. Mike, go ahead.
Lou has been saying publicly for a long time now that he knows the public can handle the truth.
Yeah.
That's basically what Gary is saying in a nutshell.
Yeah. What do you think, Gene? Do you agree with that? What's your take on this whole debacle? The scientific board, etc.
Yeah, so I absolutely think the public can handle the truth. I mean, and I've said it before, if, the likes of Lou and Corbell, and there's so many others who claim to know the entire truth, they've managed okay knowing the entire truth. I think I'll be okay too. I think most people will be okay too. I don't think any of them have any sort of super skill to process this any differently than anybody else. As far as this whole, I think you said debacle is the right word when it comes to these commissions. Chris Mellon posted a reply to a question on X yesterday or the day before yesterday. I think it was early yesterday, about this commission and everything else. And, frankly, his answer was moronic. He went into how we need to have consensus, that for years Congress has been asking the question about UAP technology, and the answer from from inside the government. What's that?
Consensus?
Yeah, and that the answer from inside the government was, well, we don't have anything on that. And somehow he has this opinion that what's needed was more consensus from the public, and that's what Disclosure Foundation was trying to do, is build this consensus from the public that would pressure the government into releasing more. And he tied it into the assessing the other data and things like that. And I wrote back a bit of a scathing response, using some of that terminology. I've long kind of questioned Disclosure Foundation, Soul Foundation as well. Again, these organizations are made up of a lot of the same people who have been in government and have been in positions, again, where for me the intent's a little bit still questionable. None of them are transparent about their funding. None of them are transparent about their donors. You look at the public record when it comes to them as nonprofit foundations, where they're claiming they've made under $50,000 in donations for the year. But you look at the events that they put on, and if you've ever put on any kind of event, you would know the money that had to go into the production, the staging, the people that they have there. Nobody's doing this for free. And even, we can argue maybe they're doing it in kind because they're in the, on the boards of directors. But, it's all this sort of circular reporting and circular self-credentialing that everybody's being honest and transparent. And the fact is, none of these organizations have any transparency, have any sort of governance structure around themselves and around, explicitly saying they have no financial entanglements, they have no conflicts of interest, and they have mechanisms in place to prevent conflicts of interest that allow any of them to not profit from anything that's discovered as part of their participation in these things. And then if we take a step back and you really look at this holistically and you go back to the June 9th Grusch press event, what you're going to find and realize is that was not a spontaneous press event, organized by Grusch. It was a PR launch from the Disclosure Foundation that went bad. And it went bad because whether they expected the White House was going to come out with, this sort of announcement and make it look like, oh, your press conference was so good, we are now inspired to action. Avi Loeb jumped the gun on something that was supposed to look organic, but was actually staged.
Do you think he went and pulled the trigger prematurely before the actual UAP governance board was actually announced? He announced his committee on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he would have he probably knew about it from what I can tell on the timeline. He knew about it before June 9th. And so I think, again, there was some timing in this. There was some, whether miscommunication or it was just Avi's ego took over. The bottom line, it was all a staged event. Yeah. And it wasn't, it was staged to create this sort of illusion of organic progress of the issue, as opposed to them coming out and saying, we've been in talks with the government. This is where we're at. This is what we've agreed to. This is what we're doing going forward. They created something that was meant to give the illusion and meant to shift the public's opinion of the individuals involved in it and their influence in moving this issue forward. And then this whole structure of, we need to get the data and that it's in the data is another layer of bureaucracy. It's institutionalizing the issue, and it's a distraction from everything that is the core ask, right? Nobody in the community was screaming, we need more data, right? What do we want? We want data to understand. No, we wanted disclosure from the government. We wanted the affirmation that these things were real. We wanted to know that they, what the government did assess them as far as a threat or not a threat. And all of that has now gotten lost in the discussion on sensor data and everything else, which we know is actually the only viable national security argument that the government has is this idea of the sensor data and what it is and is not able to detect is a national security issue. That's something you don't want your adversaries to have. Everything else in this is theater and a farce.
I guess, Gene, it comes down to the question of national security, Daryl. Thanks for the reminder. Looking at this from a situation, they have the bodies, they have the crafts. Why are we trying to prove this stuff isn't real from all the little fucking disclosure dots flying around in the sky?
Well, they're trying to avoid that part of the discussion, and that's what all of this. They've shifted the conversation. And the Disclosure Foundation has somehow unilaterally now captured the ask from the public as being we want to analyze sensor data, and that's not at all where it is. And we've got to let them know that this is not at all where we were going.
Yeah,
this is where you want to go. And the reasons you want to go there are obvious from the people that you have involved in this. And it has nothing to do with what the public wants to know. It has to do with everybody funding their little pet projects that justify their positions, whether it's in the institutions they're in or allows them to do this as their full-time job. That's going to be somehow funded now by, being at least adding this credential, and they can go out and use that for fundraising. It's all super dirty.
Yeah. Dirty. Naughty.
It's dirty.
If you want to bring out the thing about the dirty nurse or the naughty nurse, people want to learn about the naughty nurse. Now, if you had the keys to the kingdom, let me hand them off to you and drop it there in your shirt pocket, how would you handle this disclosure that we're seeing? What would be your ultimate play?
I mean, ultimately, it's the. I think instead of a drop every 2 weeks, there needs to be a daily drop. I don't know what the capacity is for the government.
It's every few weeks, which it could be every 2 to 7 weeks, apparently.
Right, exactly. So, that needs to That needs to be prioritized on making the information public.
Right.
The easiest thing in doing this, or the ask in doing this, is exactly what I just described. The official government's position, statement, acknowledgement, and some sort of parameter that of what it is exactly that they know about it. I know people want accountability, they want amnesty, they want people to go to jail, they want to know about interdimensional beings, they want to know about the Galactic Federation and the secret meetings on the moon. That everybody's got to slow their roll.
That's kind of all noise, right? Though, really.
It is, and that's what continually throws this subject off, is because let's get to the fundamental acknowledgement. Let's focus on the acknowledgement, on settling the issue and bringing a degree of closure to experiencers, and that sets the foundation for everything that comes after that. Then to say, so as a result of this, we are going to, structure, we are going to release the information that we have and make it transparent. We are going to commission, a group that's going to study the data that's already been studied. Let's face it, they haven't been sitting on this and nobody has ever looked at it, and there's no analysis, and there's no work that's been done on it. So we're going to look at that. That's going to be reviewed. We're going to have another commission that looks at the transparency and the systems within government that failed, that allowed this to happen. And this was my point back to Christopher Mellon last night, is that to say we need consensus on the truth, that in and of itself is contradictory to everything that America is supposed to be.
Why would you need consensus on the truth? If the truth is there, the facts are there, you shouldn't need a consensus to people say, oh, yes, we believe more than 50%. We believe this is the truth, if truly we're bringing forward the truth, right?
Right. What he's essentially saying is that somehow he's under this illusion that, until a majority of people are interested in it, then it's okay for the government to lie and cover up and do all these things. But once 51%, aren't happy about it, then, truth. The truth from the government is the default. It's not a negotiable alternative. And the fact he's treating it like that, and that's his response, just shows how either disconnected he is from, the American people, or from the truth in and of itself, or he is struggling to justify what it is that's going on right now. And the pace of the communications coming out of the Disclosure Foundation now compared to 6 months ago, or a year ago. I think they've really only been around since 2024. It shows something. A deal was struck somewhere, and nobody's striking a deal without somebody benefiting from it. And now all of these people, including Grusch, need to be asked how much they knew when they stood up at that podium. I think Grusch and James Fox potentially were probably the only ones who didn't know what the master plan was. Leslie Keene certainly knew, and the other ones who definitely knew, they never put him up there on stage.
Because if you looked in the back row of the people standing behind Burchett and Burleson and Luna, behind them were Jordan Flowers and all the other people from the Disclosure Foundation.
Exactly. Right. Tim,
I don't think I'd say majority of our audience didn't pick up on that, but it's something we know what they look like, and there, sure enough, there they were. At least they got the audio working this time.
They did. But, I think, I tend to like to think Grusch was probably the pawn in that, and James Fox. I'm sure James was thrilled to, pitch his work as he did. But I think Luna, Burchett, Burleson, they were thrilled because they probably saw all of this as taking a weight off of their shoulder. Now there was another direction to point everybody that they thought was going to be coming. And Avi Loeb jumping the gun, as he did, his premature announcements, I think basically exposed it all.
Okay, on Avi Loeb, really quick, since we're on a roll here. You've seen how he's taken and thrown the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine under the bus. He's done the same for the Tic Tac sighting. He did this, or the event that happened, much more than a sighting. He did the same thing for Beatrice Villaro's different sightings out there. Do you think that's a good choice, or it seems like they pick someone who's a debunker by nature, except for things that are interstellar, anything that's happening on Earth, he puts the kibosh on?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't even, if he was a debunker, then I could understand. But what he does is he dismisses any other effort to and any other type of science other than his. Back in December 2025, I had a chance to interview him as part of the symposium Jim Arak put on. And I had asked him, I think prior to us bringing him on air, had he looked at Dr. Villarreal's work. And he laughed it off. He said, no, he said, I'm only interested in new data. He said, old data you can't rely on and this, that. So when this happened, that went right to the top of my mind. He's, he already said he's not interested in old data, which means we need to collect new data, which means nothing's happening anytime soon until he collects the data that he wants to see. I was out at Contact. I spent 4 days with Dr. Villarreal and Dennis. Got to know them really well. Got to have some deep dive discussions with them, not only on their work but about Avi, because he had also come out with his criticism at the same time. And people got to remember, he's never even read the paper. He's never even looked at what it is. He dismisses things without even really reading the science behind it, right, that anybody's looking at. And he admits it and he proves it. And this is the person that the government wants to lead data analysis.
Crazy. But if you look at the stuff that when he promotes his interstellar objects and everything, he jumps to all these huge grandiose conclusions of all these things of what it really isn't. But because there is limited sensor data, he takes a look at it and he goes and makes all these assumptions. But if it's data from other, and he knows those are things we can't get good data from potentially because how they're moving, what's going on. We have limited sensor platforms to look at some of this stuff, and he makes it so grandiose and so big, and he's so believed in it. But when we have this stuff like we were just talking about, he just throws it under the bus. It's like he's almost paid on this or for whatever reason what he's doing. I don't know.
That's his, it's his sales pitch. It's a sales pitch. The things he has the ability to make comments on, then it becomes a sales pitch. But we need more. We need more money to be able to do this. And we know from Ty Roberts and others, those comments that he's made. His goal has always been, he needs $1 billion out of Congress to further his research. Avi Loeb has no interest in researching anything, and Avi Loeb has no interest in disclosure. Avi Loeb's only interest is in discovering, and he wants to be the one credited with the discovery of NHI or of UFOs. That is what every one of his actions indicates. That is his only interest, is stamping Avi Loeb's name on the discovery.
But even when Oumuamua was coming around, and even 3i Atlas, he's not the one who discovered it. He's just a promoter, right? Like, if you want to call it a scientific version of Jeremy Corbell, for that matter.
Right, but if he got enough money, and using that money and his data and his assets, the Galileo, to be able to identify, the alien sitting there waving out the window, then believe that narrative, the who discovered it first would have gone out the window. The narrative would have been all about the discovery of the, NHI, or the discovery of the technical signature that he made.
Right.
That's all he's interested in. Nothing to do with disclosure, everything to do with discovery, and his name being the one on discovery. So everything else he's going to shit on.
So if you take that line of what he is going towards, but now in this new scientific council lead that he has on UAP that he's putting out there, he brings Michael Shermer in, who they call him a skeptic, but he's more of a debunker. I've got one quick post here. Let me just go ahead and bring this up for a second. All right, so I'm getting pushback for doubting David. Oh, damn it! Where did that go? Here we go. David Grusch's dramatic claims that aliens are here. Watch a short clip on News Nation interview with him, which he claims that the Vatican has proof of a 1930s UFO. News Nation sends its reporter who says the Vatican archives show no evidence whatsoever of UFOs. News Nation asked Grusch about Roswell. He said he's not allowed to explain what really happened, and so on. Just stories. Why do so many people believe him with zero evidence on offer? Do you think it's possible he's genuinely mistaken about what he believes? So he's saying what Grusch is talking about is about Grusch's beliefs, but Grusch's beliefs go back to the facts and the data that he analyzed, right? This isn't just him coming up with something and say, I believe this, and writing a book like Shermer does. No, this is him actually being in the analyst position where he had access to some of this data.
But I think, and I know, a lot of attention's been sort of pivoted on him and, his role as a debunker. But again, we need to go back to that first Avi Loeb announcement, right? And this paints the picture of how much he jumped the gun, and how everybody, behind the scenes had to start scrambling. When he first made that, when in his first initial announcement in his Medium article, it named 5 people. All 5 of those people worked for Avi. So this was him and his team full of people who essentially already work with him and are dependent upon him right now for their futures, right? They need to get good letters out of him and everything else. I think one of them was maybe an outside consultant, right? And the pushback was immediate and it was furious, right? The next morning, the edits start coming, and Avi edited that list 3 times within 24 hours to continue to start adding names, right? So what that says is, behind the scenes from Disclosure Foundation or whoever else, somebody jumped on him and said, Avi, what the hell did you do? This is spinning out of control. And not only had it spun out of control, it was all negative. So they started saying, well, now we need to start filling in names. And maybe that's where the phone calls started going in the background for people they had already asked. Or maybe they said, well, now we need, we need some kind of balance. And they just reached out to whoever the first skeptic was that picked up the phone and said yes. They used that to make this look like they had a full team that was in this thing. So whether the initial plan was, just Avi Loeb and his 5 people, and they were responding to how negative it was received, and we're jumping through hoops to fill out that list by whoever they could pull in, or a lot of these were discussions that and maybe people hadn't fully committed by the time it circulated, and they needed to try and have some measure of balance. I don't think it was particularly well thought out. I mean, again, Avi himself, it shows it wasn't particularly well thought out in terms of, the knowledgeable community, right? They just wanted names. If the average citizen Googles it, it's good enough.
Right. Now, bringing up names, how he changes stuff and everything. Last night on the show, we went and actually, let me get this up here, took a survey that he had up there, and he listed all the researchers whose names are out there who are going to be working with the data, figuring it out and analyzing it. Well, today, in addition to this list of everything's out there, Shermer came out again and said, well, I'm working on this team to go and analyze the data to see where people's beliefs are and understanding. And now we've got a skeptic who's working with a bunch of data analysts to figure out what people are actually, psychologists to figure out where disclosure is actually going. It seems like it's the pot has been poisoned, Gene.
Well, and again, who asked for it? What was this? What was the pulse of America, and what everybody felt about it? Where was this in, the in 2017? Right, when we finished the 2017 hearings, where was the outcry for? We need to now understand what everybody thinks about this.
Right.
That's not been the discussion as I understood it for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
It's an issue they've suddenly created that's suddenly somehow relevant and crucial to the government saying what the truth is.
Right.
What difference does it make?
Now, do you think that potentially, let me bring this one up again. Where am I at? Desktop. Here we go. Do you think potentially on the list, these are the researchers that he's dealing with the survey. He has a bunch of different people on his scientific council on UAP. But if you look at it, the two top people who are his researchers he's bringing out here are from Reichman University in Israel. So I thought this was a U.S. thing, but he's bringing in a much bigger international team. An international team usually relates to not international science, but international government interests, potentially.
Well, obviously, right? I mean, and there's no secret of the, ideas that Loeb himself is affiliated with Mossad and Israeli intelligence. And, again, I don't, he could bring in whoever. He's answering a question nobody's asking. He's answering a question that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of it matters. The truth is the truth. And unless all of a sudden the survey is going to say, 80% of world citizens don't care about the truth, or only, would rather not be told the truth about this stuff. It's a question nobody's asking.
The only person that looks like we have from the United States who's dealing with the survey is one person from Harvard who works for Avi Loeb. Everyone else is international. Yep. It just seems odd that the United States government would bring together a science council from people who are outside of our government rather than looking to not even a government, outside of our country, when there's such a rich array of individuals in this, country that could address it. Daryl.
Yeah, Dr. Janice Villar is actually from Los Angeles. She's a psychologist.
So we've got one.
Yeah,
two.
Psychologist.
We can't count Avi because although he's at Harvard, he's really has an alliance to Israel.
And when you're ready to put a cap on this segment of Avi Loeb, I do have a poll ready to go about Avi Loeb.
Sure. Absolutely.
When you're ready to cap it off.
No, we're not ready to cap it off. We're just getting into it because we're looking at the whole complex web of what we're dealing with here. It's not just, we're trying to bring the truth together. But talking with Gene about this, we're trying to look at this from, outside governments, outside influence. We've got people who are being brought in these positions, not sure why they were picked, but is it the right people they're bringing together to give us the answer we're looking for?
Well, we just heard from Dr. Gary Nolan, who was very clear about how this council is going to operate. They're not going to be given classified information. They're not going to discuss with the public their findings or what they're deliberating on. They're not going to be sharing anything with the public before it's released. So basically, this council, for all its intent and purposes, is just some more bureaucratic red tape that they're throwing into the mix. But we don't need that for disclosure. We just want the truth.
Right.
Just unclassify and bring it out.
And all organized by the intelligence agencies that hold the classified materials and are deciding what gets declassified. I mean, you talk about an internal loop. The same agencies that collect and analyze and classify and declassify formed a committee to advise them on the data and not even the data in the classified version of things, because they're not going to give them any of that. So what data are you giving them to look at? Right? The data they're giving them to look at are questions just like we see. What does everybody think? What's everybody feel about, it's like some DEI holdover of the Biden administration's in there running this, wanting to know what everybody's feelings are about the truth.
Well, Gene, let's just say, for argument's sake, that this council of Avis now, what exactly is the material that they're going to go over and review? Well, let's just say it's all of the drops that have come out publicly already, because we know they don't have access to any classified information. So they're going to be going over the same material that the public is going to have released to them. Well, I got an answer for that. Every drop that comes out with these disclosure dots, we go over and analyze on our own with other professionals that have information on this. We don't need Avi and his council to sit on their fucking thumbs and go over this material. For what? What are they going to give us? Something we already don't know about it? I don't see that.
No, they're gonna give the assessment that the government wants them to give, as opposed to the assessments that likely already exist. Because again, they didn't sit on these files and stick them up on a shelf over the last 80 years, and nobody was ever tasked to put it all together. That's exactly why those files look like they do, with the secret communications, the classified communications between agencies, between agency heads, and then you see newspaper clippings in there. All of those things are intelligence files that are looking at the reports that were made by individuals, the actions that were taken by government agencies as a result of those reports, them monitoring what actually came out in the news, and painting a picture of what they have to say or what they have to look at. That's the structure of every one of those files. And that analysis is somewhere. And that analysis is likely still classified. So do they want to see, does an independent board come up with the same analysis that, the government analysts did?
No, because the council, Avi's board, isn't going to have access to what the government's analysts came up with. That's still classified. The public isn't going to see it. Avi's not going to see it. So we're not going to get it.
But we've heard, though, Mike and Gene both, that Lou is working on, and people are aware that we're missing all the data that's required for us to understand what's going on. And we should be looking for a change in that to happen relatively soon, from what I've heard.
No, you're right. And Lou did say that. And hopefully with the future drops that will be coming out, we will get more and more relevant information that will give us some of these answers that they haven't done already.
Right.
I agree, but we're not there yet. And as far as what Avi's group is going to be doing currently, I think Gene is right. I agree with the points that he's made. Right now, this council of his doesn't seem to be having any more of a function than an appendix does in the human body. It's fucking useless.
Well, it's something there. We just don't realize what it does.
I think we have a good idea of what Avi and his group is going to be doing. Nothing good. Michael Shermer? Yeah. I'm not expecting much to come from there. At least nothing worthwhile for disclosure.
Talking about Shermer for a second, here's another tweet from him. If you have a few minutes, please take this survey on belief about UAPs ETIs, extraterrestrial entities, and what disclosure might mean for religion and society. A big theme in Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. I'm on the team collecting and analyzing this data, so I appreciate the input. Now, he's saying he's on the team collecting and analyzing, and so is he part of the people by him saying this? It's part of it, or is he just saying, I'm a part of the team, but I'm not actively working on it? This sounds like he's part of the team. The team who's actually working on it means he would be one of the team members. Does that make sense, Gene?
Yeah, it does. And what it means is they're going to collect the data. Some junior, fellow intern, somebody looking for their letter of recommendation from Avi is going to, put it all into some nice charts and graphs. And then they're going to sit around and they're going to look at the chart, and it's going to say, 90% of the people said this and 90% of the people said that. And then what they're going to do is try and come up with the narrative of what that means. And the narrative is going to fit, what their positions are.
Right.
How do I, as a skeptic, frame this? Right. So Michael Shermer will say, oh, this means 90% of the people are disillusioned.
Yeah, it is. Next post he has up there: the government is not a scientific organization. They do not have first-class scientists. What do you mean? Of course they do. Department of Energy everywhere else. My God. So we can help them figure things out. Professor Avi Loeb on the Science Advisory Council. My God, what do you think they don't have scientists?
The Department of Energy runs the national laboratory system throughout the United States. Who the fuck do you think is running it in those national laboratories? Maintenance people? Janitors? No, they have scientists. They've built the nuclear energy, the atomic
national
bomb.
Laboratories are run by who? Let me do the NASA look. I can't even do that. Scientists.
Correct. But Andy's had his hand up patiently the whole time. Go ahead, sure. Andy.
Yeah, this list that they put out for this thing that Avi Loeb's doing. I thought I'd take a look, and there was one that piqued my interest, obviously, because he was here in the UK. This Dr. Daniel Stubbins. Now, I thought I'll have a little look at this character online, and I found he's a principal lecturer in clinical or forensic psychology at Cardiff School of Sport and Health Sciences. Now, I guess this chap, I'm just reading off my phone that I've got here, so I do apologize for looking down. He's a clinical psychologist, has worked in mental health care, cancer and palliative care, and also 7 years in secure mental health settings. Now, it does say that interests me. Research interests include the phenomenon UFO and UAPs, existential psychology, physiotherapy. But to me, it looks like, is he looking at this as though those of us engaged in this subject are mentally ill? That's the sort of vibes I'm reading off of what I'm reading of this character. Was he brought into this, whatever Avi's running because of his interest in the subject? Yeah, there's a pattern.
There's a pattern because the other person from LA is a psychologist.
Are they trying to read into it that every one of us is in this subject, and there's some very esteemed people in with me? I'm the least esteemed. I'm barely above dribbling, basically. But are they lumping us all in that we're all mentally ill, that we either believe or are engaged in this subject? I think if you looked into every single one of these people involved in this, they've got some sort of psychology or, that field of medical care, or, are they trying to, say that we're all mentally ill in believing this? I think we need to take a deeper look into each and every one of these people that's involved in this group.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they came out, Andy, and they said we're all nutters on this.
Well, I know I'm mad as a hatter, but hey, doesn't it?
Yeah. No. Well, we'll see. They haven't come out publicly with any analysis yet, like Gene's pointed out. We have a long way to go. But Syrup, your hand is up. You're next, my friend.
Hey, thank you. No, real quick about Michael Schumer's comment. Yeah, whatever his name is, right?
It might as well be Schumer for that matter.
Yeah, his comment that we don't have first-class scientists is just wrong. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, obviously, he probably hasn't heard of DARPA, and DARPA absolutely has the world-class scientists working on their projects. Michael Schumer is also the guy who doesn't exactly believe that we have high-tech black projects either. He thinks he's also a skeptic of that kind of stuff. So when guys like Tim Phillips says he's seen F-17s on steroids inside of Area 51, Michael Schumer is the kind of guy that wouldn't even believe that. So that's the kind of skeptic you're dealing with here. He's so skeptical that it can't even be human either.
Well, they should have got Mick West on that board then.
I know. Here's another one. He's still fighting over Roswell. Here's a key passage from the Roswell UFO report. The Air Force Research Fund found absolutely no indication of what happened near Roswell in 1947 involved any kind of extraterrestrial spacecraft. I mean, he's going off of some of the reports that are out there, not the real ones that are, covering this stuff. This, of course, is the crux of the entire matter. Pro-UFO persons who obtain a copy of this report at this point most probably begin the cover-up still on claims. Nevertheless, the research indicated absolutely no evidence of any kind that a spaceship crashed near Roswell or that any alien occupants were recovered therefrom in some secret military operations or otherwise. So he's going back to the Roswell cover-up that we all know has been going on. It's been verified, and we'll probably get information. We just saw documents from 1946 talking about an invasion of saucers that were coming near our military bases back in the day. So, Gene, I mean, this is just, and Marik von Rennenkampff has been going back and forth with him on this. He was even reporting, what was it, one of the fourth launches, and that was the one that happened. That was actually resulted in the crash at Roswell. Guess what? There were only 3 launches of those balloons. There weren't 4. So how can you refer to something if you're looking at the data that doesn't even exist? Gene?
No, exactly. Well, anyway, he's ignoring all the data that does exist. He's ignoring all of the communications and the chain of records that exists about material transfers out of Roswell to Wright-Patterson, and everything that came that. He sort of goes to whatever the official report is, as being the truth.
And first-hand witnesses.
Right. I mean, listen, it's a matter of, your willingness to and openness to look at all of the data and all the information that exists and to contextualize it, even if it's contrary to what the official report or the quote unquote final determination of the government is. And he's just not somebody who has the willingness or the intellectual capacity or integrity to be able to do, I mean, and that just has to, and that's fine. It just has to inform everything else that he comes out with and everything that he says. That's his job. That's his career. This is his bread and butter. So just don't expect anything different,
He's the founder of Skeptic Magazine. So, I mean, right. I think his position on this board is to be the devil's advocate, it sounds like.
I mean, to a degree, I think even the devil's advocate has a little bit more, flexibility.
At least the devil understands the truth.
Oh, right. Exactly. Right. At least the devil understands. Yeah, there's definitely a cover up, but, this is the best way to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who don't know, that is a real job in the Vatican, devil's advocate.
Is that right?
That's where the phrase comes from. So when they're discussing, doctrine and matters of the church, I don't know what his name is now, but there is somebody who is appointed the devil's advocate.
It's probably Mick West, I guess. Oh, I think I hear Thomas in the background.
Sorry about the lack of silence, my friend. It's called the results of national security.
Thank you.
All right, getting back to this. Yeah, as we're talking about stuff, Shermer and everything, and where it's kind of going towards, we see where he's saying here again, I recommend the 2 books put out by the U.S. Air Force on Roswell in which they admit the weather balloon. Yes, and that is our theme. Anytime we hear anyone calling UFO a balloon, we will play a little clip from 99 Luftballons about that.
I love that song. 99 balloons. Love it.
Absolutely. I will repeat my prior post for Senator Warren about claims on her tax plans and shit. Let's see. He's going James Fox. This is just someone who's on the warpath to go ahead and bring debunk everything and anything in this disclosure. Hello, sweaty nerd. I'll mute you, my friend. Unmute yourself when you're going to talk next. There we go. Got that taken care of. Wow, bunch of stuff going on out there. Talking about Avi Loeb or Avi Loeb for that.
You want the poll?
Yeah, put it out there. Yes, and we've got a video to play for Avi Loeb too. He was on. He was making another appearance last night on Elizabeth Vargas Reports on News Nation.
Of course he was.
So what's the poll there?
Pick your main view on Avi Loeb: heroic scientist, gatekeeper protecting status quo, or grifter chasing fame and funding.
Oh boy! Let's go ahead and see where this is going to take us. All right, let me get the sound effect up. Yes, that sound effect means, folks, when you hear that, we've got a survey up and rolling. So let's go ahead and see where this is going to take us. Let's go with this one for once. Pick your main view on Avi Loeb: heroic scientist,
nobody,
gatekeeper protecting the status quo, or a grifter chasing fame and funding. My gosh, 76% of our audience is saying he's a grifter chasing fame and funding. I mean, that's where I would probably vote.
I agree with the audience.
Yeah. Oh, he's here. He's been so quiet. Edwin, what's up?
Oh, he just joined us. Go ahead, Ryan.
Just release the information and let the public make up their own mind.
Yeah. Release the facts.
That's what disclosure is supposed to be about in the first place. Just release the information and let the public make up their own mind.
For 1 minute.
We don't need somebody to control the narrative and tell us what to think anymore. We're smart enough.
Yeah. Sounds about right. We've got a minute left in this survey phone, friends. God, I almost need to bring away. I can bring it up and put 44 seconds left. It's so far we only got 40 votes in, but there's no way for Avi to recover on this one. The audience is taking the obvious answer. Let me get to where am I at? Video guest. Here we go. Grifter chasing.
It's a heroic scientist.
Fame and funding.
Avi Loeb must be watching. Heroic science 2%. He must be on the chat watching.
It's the one vote.
Hi, Avi. We'd love to have you on to talk about stuff, but we'll be nice. I promise.
He'd probably charge you $1 million just to have him on.
Yeah.
You mean he'd pay me $1 million to come on our podcast? I'd accept that.
Yeah, we know it's $20,000, and he wants a private SUV to pull him around if he is going to.
That's right.
That office of his.
That's okay. We can get him from his office on remote camera, where he's got himself on his own mantle.
I can go knock on his door, see if he'll do it live. I can just.
Yeah, there you go.
I live close enough.
So I'm going to end this poll at this point. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of it before I end this. Take a screenshot of it for posterity, folks. All right, let's go ahead and end it with 51 votes in. Our audience has a strong opinion on this one, saying that pick your main view on of Avi Loeb, heroic scientist, at 2%. gatekeeper protecting the status quo, which sounds realistic at 24%, or a grifter chasing fame and funding, 75%. Well, yeah. I guess I usually have to go along with the audience on this one, so I'll agree. A grifter chasing fame and funding is where our audience has taken us today. How about that? Thank you, Daryl.
How about that?
Paul?
And Thomas, I very quickly want to add on what Gene said about, pulling up Avi Loeb's door. He didn't seem to mind Kirkpatrick turning up unannounced on his door, or was it announced?
Well, it would be unannounced because if I guess we could FOIA any communications on that day or the day before. That would be a good FOIA to actually do, of any communications between Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick on, a couple days before and a couple days after he supposedly drove up to see Avi Loeb unannounced.
Yeah, I'm wondering who else
is
was
it
in
an
that car.
8-hour drive, Gene, to get to DC?
From here, I mean, it's seven hours, and that's usually, I done it a few times. So, I make it from here to central New Jersey on, in about 3.5, 4 hours. And that's where I usually have lunch and refuel, and then, straight through. So that's, 7 hours without stopping and traffic being generous.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
So 8.5.
I have to say as well, that's a long way to go, unannounced, on the off chance that he might actually be in or not. I wouldn't drive that far. For me, that's halfway up my country. So I'm not going to drive all that way to find knock on the door and then find nobody's home. It's gone out for a meal or whatever.
Why do you think that is, Andy? Why do you think he? I'm just going to tell you what I think. I think it's because there's other people that were with him in that car. You don't, unlike a plane, you don't have to fill out a manifest to drive somewhere, right? Or manifest.
Or if it's a government car and it tracks where you go.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering if there might be somebody by the last name of that rhymes with Koff that may have gone with him, because she seemed to go with him everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
I haven't thought about her all day. However, it's like I've thought more about.
Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, fever, pain, tenderness, redness, or swelling between the anus and genitals.
I thought about that more than I've actually thought about Susan popping up literally and potentially being part of it. But I think that's a really good assessment. Wow.
But I'm sure he did not go by himself.
Susan, what do you think?
Thomas.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have to be a little bit more lighthearted on something here. Let's we can continue on this path. But I guess Jeremy Corbell?
No way.
Actually did some improv?
No way.
Yeah. About UFOs. Happy Saturday, folks. Hopefully we won't get in trouble for it, but if we do, well, everyone's worth it. So let's see what Jeremy has to say on this point. It's only about 3 minutes.
All right. Planet Earth, the greatest show in the fucking solar system. Where are we? Right now. What?
Actually, what I want to do is, I want to copy the video address really quick. I want to download it. We still have the video we have to play. I want to bring this an external application, so now I can control the video as we're watching him. I can fucking zoom in and get rid of where it says improv and just have Jeremy Corbell on stage.
All right. Planet Earth, the greatest show in the fucking solar system. Where are we? Right now. What? This is where the aliens fly by and roll up their fucking windows, right? Yeah. Do you guys know me? So you're the fucking freak in your family. You are. You're the alien UFO freak, right? Okay, so I'm not a comic. I'm not trying to be funny, but a lot of people think I'm funny looking. So here I am with you right now. I am told you're a bunch of drunks and I'm babysitting you. Yeah, do you know what I really do? I'm an investigative journalist, and I'm looking at national security issues that have to do with weapons of mass destruction that come from the UAP issue, which means the craft themselves, because they bend space-time, are able to blow you the fuck up. Don't talk. Blow you the fuck up. Who's an alien? Immigration. Did you see how the government punked you? Did you see how they punked you? Yes or no? Last week with the alien website. Yes or no? Yes. Oh, you're paying the fuck attention now. I went on a podcast a couple weeks ago. I did not know this chick. She had blonde hair, red lipstick. Do you know who I'm talking about?
That last one?
Is that who you came to see tonight? You're observing her like the aliens are observing you, right? No, you're not with me yet. You have not watched the congressional hearings on UAP and UFOs where we have alien bodies and reverse engineered spacecraft, right?
What was that, Gene?
So they're not going to be with him either. I mean, look at the people in that front row, that woman right there. I mean, this is so cringy on so many levels.
I know. He's trying, but we can see this is how our general population is responding and where their knowledge set is potentially.
And paying the fuck attention. You haven't watched Sleeping Dog, the movie on Apple and Amazon, have you? Right, so now you're behind the 8 ball.
Not one person in that room knows what the fuck he's talking about. Sleeping
Nobody. Nobody knows. No, not only do they not know, they don't care. And I mean, again, you can just feel the uncomfortableness and the like, who is this guy and why is he introducing her and why the fuck do I care about any of this? And his the F-bombs, it's just, I mean, it's just pathetic.
Yeah. Almost done.
You might be doing an 8 ball. You might be doing an 8 ball. You know her from your mom's house.
Yep.
Your mom's. No, from your mom's house. You know her from Netflix. Have you heard of that little thing?
No, that's always doing the intro for someone.
Yeah.
So that was his attempt on there's so many different ways you could do stand-up talking about aliens and shit. Oh my God. We do it every night.
There's a way to do it, to come out and, first of all, be humble enough to know nobody knows who you are and what you're doing, and just come out and introduce yourself, right? Hey, my name's Jeremy Corbell. I just interviewed, I was just on Christine's podcast. I do, alien, and do a couple of things that way. But to stand up there and have this expectation that everybody, knows who he is. Again, he set himself up for failure, right? Mm-hmm. Because which shows he probably believed more than the one guy in the back of the room knew who he was going to know who he was. And then, to pitch his, sleeping dog, and nobody in that audience knows what he's talking about, knows what sleeping dog is or anything like that. So again, it's, it's the Jeremy Corbell show starring Jeremy Corbell, and he was asked to introduce this woman, and it fell flat all the way around. And
I'm hoping that the woman that came out said, "Thank you, everybody. Who the fuck was that guy?"
Yeah, right.
So did you get a chance to see this clip yet? I guess it was on Fox News, recorded the other day over at Area 51 or so.
That looks like its balloon, floating really, really fast.
This is really
98 more of those.
Oh God, where's that at?
There's got to be 98 more of those coming.
Oh, I know. God, how did I lose that fucking video? Hold on. Sorry, I should be ready for this, but yes, it's a video, and you're going by, and everyone's saying, "Oh my God, look, it's a UFO." No, stop! Hold on. Right there, you can see my stars. It's not a UFO actually this time. It actually is. Let me get it here. On, right, there we go. I mean, literally, this is a freaking balloon we're seeing flying around. And a bunch of people were out saying, oh my gosh, look at this. It's a UAP. Check out that image of it and stuff. But if you get out of here and go into the details, yeah, this is one of the screenshots we just brought up. And here's the thing. If it's a balloon, we have no problem calling it a balloon. But when it's something real and something that's going on out there, to call it a balloon, this actually does balloons a disservice. It's almost discriminatory against them.
Hang on, Thomas. He's just lost. He's looking for his 98 other friends.
Yeah, potentially. Let's get back. So, yeah, this is something that's out there, and it's something good for us to take a look at and understand. Yeah, sometimes when you see something out there, it looks a little too spectacular, but you have to look at the entire video, and when it turns into a red star balloon, you have to call it out as one. Edwin?
It's also a good example of parallax, right? It looks like it's moving much faster than it is.
Exactly. Because it's closer to the camera, as the camera's panning to go ahead and match that particular object, the background is going by super fast, which make you think, oh my God, look how fast it is.
Mm-hmm. Of course, if I was an alien and I wanted to do surveillance on you, maybe I'd disguise myself as a balloon. So, sorry, Pete Liebel, I don't mean to blow your mind if you're in the audience.
Edwin, what say you?
Well, we do need people to explain known objects as known objects, but we don't need a panel to explain unknown objects as balloons, like you were just saying, Thomas. But the other comment was that Avi Loeb said that somebody, the way this science panel started was some people showed up at his house and invited him to create this committee. I'd like to know who those people were that showed up at his house.
No, that wasn't about that. That was something when there was a paper that was being written for the to go against the scientific findings of the National Academy of Sciences Ukraine, specifically from their astronomy division. So that's why he drove for 7-8 hours, probably with Susan Goff in tow. What a power couple, my God.
No, but in a recent interview Loeb did about this UAP Science Committee, they asked him how it got started, and he said some messengers came to his house. I'd like to know who those people were.
Oh, yeah, okay. I think I know what you're talking about on that one. Let me get back to here. No, that's in my feed. Hold on. Let's get out of there. I should have. I got that video there. We got that one with Avi there. We've got that one. This one is probably posted by Avi Loeb. There we go. Let's go down to it. He was on News Nation. This is the one we're talking about. Let me just download it first. This is the interview from like a day or so ago, right, Edwin?
I think so, yeah. It'd be interesting to find out who they were. Were they connected to Arrow or what, you know?
Well, let's go ahead and play this interview, and we'll talk about it after it's done. How about that? We'll hear his exact words on it. Here we go.
Our next guest is the head of that advisory council, Avi Loeb, joins me now. He's also the director of Harvard's Institute for Theory and Computation and wrote the book Extraterrestrial. Avi, welcome back. Okay, is it your job as the person in charge of this council? Are you guys going to finally explain what these objects are in these videos, or what? Are you going to get to the bottom of it all?
Well, thanks for having me. That's exactly the intention. You know, on the same day that the third batch was released, Steven Spielberg put out his film, Disclosure Day, but I think it's much more interesting to live through the reality rather than the artistic freedom displayed in the script of Spielberg. And frankly, my car is not being crashed against a moving train, as you find in the film. The government is actually cooperating with me, with scientists, and that's very exciting because it means that indeed there are objects they cannot figure out. And if they were suspecting that these objects are definitely human-made, they would have expressed that opinion in memos written to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, rather than sharing it in a file release to the public and asking scientists to help them.
How are you going to figure out what these things are?
By following the evidence. You know, we need to keep our eyes on the orbs, not on the audience. And by the audience, I mean social media people having opinions. By collecting better data with better...
Wait a minute. He said he's not going to go ahead and pay attention to the people on social media, but didn't this motherfucker just go ahead and put a survey out there for everybody on social media?
Yes, he did. Well, he's a hypocrite.
Mother Schmucker.
Mother Schmucker. Yes, he likes to go ahead and really attack other people's works, other people's achievements, and downplay them, comparing to anything that he says. That's his MO. Anything anybody else does, I'm going to talk it down and put them down, and I'm going to take my stuff and push it up. That's his shtick. 100%.
Sensors, analyzing it with the latest AI software, then we can make progress. And we can advise the US government of how to collect this data, because at the very least, if you have a down-to-earth interpretation of these objects, they are a national security threat if they are human-made, produced by adversarial nations. We have holes in our defense system of the US, and there need to be more priority given to figuring them out. And in the process of getting better data and figuring them out, you know, we might realize that one of the objects is not human-made, and it's sufficient to have one in order for that to be the biggest discovery ever made by humanity.
When you say follow the evidence, is the only evidence these videos, or is there other evidence, whether it be witness testimony, or is there even tangible scientific evidence?
Yeah, so it needs to be evidence from multiple sensors, so we are sure that the objects are real and not optical illusions. We need to figure out their distance and the velocity acceleration that they exhibit, which would convince us if they are outside the performance envelope of human-made technologies. And finally, you know, if there is any material, and that could include the biological material, but any material from crash sites of such unidentified objects would be very useful in the scientific analysis. And, you know, it's not clear what the government exactly has because the most interesting data is probably still classified.
Yeah.
But we can nudge the government in this direction. There is definitely willingness to cooperate. I must say, my interpretation of the classification is that in the past, you know, the intelligence agencies, the Pentagon, preferred not to be scrutinized for not figuring out some objects. And, you know, that's a way of justifying classification. Also, some of the data was collected by classified sensors. And finally, they didn't want adversarial nations to be aware of holes in the defense system and vulnerabilities.
Is he going ahead right here? Did I miss it? Or is Avi going and supporting the government's restricting the sensor information in the videos? It sounds like he's taking all the different excuses that are out there why we're not getting the information, and he's reinforcing them rather than saying, as a scientist, we need to get it. We need to have access to this data.
Right. What he was saying there, what I heard was, you know, that the government has the data, but they don't know how to analyze it, and they're embarrassed to say they don't know.
Do you believe that?
So, no, of course not. Of course not. Of course, you know. I mean, this is the entire job of the U.S. Armed Forces, right? Identify whether something is a threat or not. Fundamental. Is it a threat or is it not a threat?
But, you know, comparatively to a B-2 bomber, right? A Canadian goose or a mallard duck or a seagull has a threat classification that goes against it and how it would react with this vehicle. So, but the military looks at everything as a threat, don't they?
Until it's not a threat, and so I mean, and this goes to the crux of like all of these videos that come out, right? And this is what I don't think people have a full scope and understanding of. You have the equipment operators that are on real-time missions, and something that comes across the screen, they focus on it because they're trying to identify, is this a threat or is it not? As soon as it looks like this is not a threat, I can't identify it, boom, they pass it on to the next desk to try and resolve it. So that process continues on until they are able to cross-check and analyze. You got to remember there's a lot of orb-shaped objects, and I think it was Kirkpatrick, and you got to give him credit for it, right? There are targeting devices that are and calibration devices that are used that are metallic, that have very, very thin nylon strings attached to them that a camera is not going to pick up, that operate in military airspace and particularly in theaters of operations, that could easily be misidentified as an anomalous orb and things like that. And yes, even the fighter pilots that are up there operating might not realize that these things, they might not have been informed these things are operating. They might not be our targeting and calibration devices. All of those things, are factored in as they're, trying to assess this stuff. And that's why, there's this small portion of it that winds up being truly anomalous. Right. So, the idea that he's putting forward that they just don't know is just asinine.
But in some of his videos, he even said there's like 40% of the things that are out there, we don't know what they are, but it's not really 40%. Isn't it like 5%? It's a small percentage.
Yeah, very small percentage. They can't resolve what it is.
So, yeah, he double speak. It definitely sounds like it.
Well, and that's why, his thing is to use, at the end of the day, it's he's saying his stuff is the best, his way is the best, his process is the best. That's the only way we're going.
His data is the best and everything, and he
convinced somebody of it. He either convinced somebody of it, or somebody said, this is a good way to get it off our shoulders for a little while. Let him have at it.
Or if there's data that doesn't agree with his stuff or any of his particular views on stuff, he'll take that opportunity to attack it on its own.
Exactly.
Right. Excellent. Let's play the rest of this.
Of our strategic assets. But now there is a completely different mindset given following President Trump's directive. And we are all trying to figure it out together in cooperation. And I hope that all the suspicion against government being, hiding things will be forgotten once we get to the bottom of this.
What? He hopes...
He's fucking delusional. Oh, the government... no one will remember they hit anything. That'll never happen. Schmuck. There's something wrong with him.
This is like one of those things where I have to go ahead and take a screenshot to remember specifically where the fuck this is. It's at 6:01 in this video. Actually, 4 minutes and 13 seconds in. You're right. Well,
but again, you see what's happening with the narrative, and what Avi is doing, what the Disclosure Foundation are doing, are trying to now redefine and refocus the narrative away from the core issue of disclosure and the core question that brought us to the point that we're at. This entire thing is a misdirection campaign by the Disclosure Foundation. And they've got a public relations firm behind them that obviously does not understand this community and obviously does not understand the history, and certainly doesn't understand the ask. And they're trying to take this now off the shoulders of the politicians for accountability, because we're going into the midterms and they've got to worry about fundraising. They've got to worry about fundraising now for their campaigns.
Right.
And so this is all trying to be launched in a new direction and have a new narrative created around it. And it's going to take everybody collectively to keep it on track and not allow that to happen.
Yeah.
This totally reminds me of the cartoon of the guy that goes to see his doctor. He's got an arrow through his head, and the doc says, "Okay, let's run a COVID test." I mean, it's obvious what is out there.
Right.
But, Avi's got to run it through his testing system.
And if he does have these little quotes that are there that really, shows his intent for what's going on, that's the kind of stuff we need to start building and clipping. And that's why I just put notes in exactly why I need to capture that, because it's consequential.
Because we know his goal is the $1 billion out of Congress. And so he is going to ingratiate himself every which way he can to alleviate this pressure on them. And he's going to use that as his leverage for, ultimately what he wants and his idea that he's going to be the one who gets to make the discovery.
Yeah. 100%.
As opposed to just having disclosure.
Right.
Right, because he wants to come from himself, not any other people. Mike, sorry.
Thomas, you need to take this clip of him saying that, because moving forward with his counsel, we're going to play this clip over and over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. I've got the file name. I've got the time code. Let's watch the rest of it. Here we go.
Not going to happen, Avi.
Hiding things will be forgotten once we get to the bottom of this.
That's not going to happen.
Cooperation, and I hope of our strategic assets. But now there is a completely different mindset given following President Trump's directive, and we are all trying to figure it out together in cooperation. And I hope that all the suspicion against government being, hiding things, will be forgotten once we get to the bottom of this.
That's not going to happen, Avi. It goes decades. And here's the problem. A lot of people who do or claim to have inside knowledge say some of this stuff is so classified and is in the hands of defense contractors and has been for decades that even the President of the United States doesn't know fully what's going on, what we have, and what we're doing. Yeah. So, I'm hoping you guys have success in all of this, but aren't you going to run up against the same roadblocks every single other person has run up against in trying to figure out what those things are, and if they are from, if they're extraterrestrial, which is in the, these classified, concrete walls that have been erected by the government or, more importantly, the defense contracting industry?
Well, anyone with specific knowledge can bring it to my attention, and we will do our best to get to these materials, to this evidence. And I just don't buy it that the future must be as boring, as depressing as the past. I'm an optimist, and I think giving the willingness of government to cooperate, let's give it a shot and do our best, and let's celebrate this moment rather than being frustrated by the past. I would be delighted to speak with you, in several months and discuss the progress we are making. And for now,
we would like nothing more, Avi, than to have you come back to the show and tell us what you have found. So consider that your invitation. Avi Loeb, along with all of your other incredible titles, we will now add optimist, eternal optimist to them. So thanks, Avi.
Thank you.
Nice. She shut him down and shut him up real quick.
But he also said, I'll talk to you in a few months. Once we've figured everything out, I won't be back. She actually pushed back against him more than I've seen any other reporter push back against him.
Oh no, she did good.
I know.
She shut him up and shut him down and got rid of him. That's exactly how we would have handled it. Nice to see that.
There's
especially from mainstream media.
Discuss the progress we are making.
Yeah, but they put on that crappy video that went in there. Here she is.
I'm hoping you guys have success in all of.
I mean, just the expression on her face. There we go. That's the video frame.
Yep.
She's yeah.
I agree with Gene 100% on this.
God.
I think
that's the screenshot. You take her on top of this, put her in front of Avi or something. Avi's next to it. My God, I mean that's just the emotion, the passion. Audience, you know what the heck I'm talking about. You guys in the back know. It's just it's magic.
She's disgusted. She looks like she has to take a shit after he said what he said to her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Can I make a comment, Thomas?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I think Gene laid it out perfectly. There's piles and piles of analysis already that the government has done on a lot of these videos. They don't need another scientific committee. This seems to me more like public relations or narrative control. And don't you also think, Gene, that this could also be fear management, because the government is still worried that the public is going to freak out or panic. And when you get a smiley face on TV who says he's an optimist, Gene, do you think that could also be part of this, that they're using him as to control the narrative and to control the fear, the fear that they're worried about people expressing? Fear management?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, the frame, what they're trying to do is build the science around it, so that it, in fact, does what you're talking about, right? It begins to alleviate some of the fear. It starts to dampen and mitigate the demons and angels discussion. It starts to push that out of the way. There's a lot that can be accomplished, by doing the scientific framing, of course. And the number one thing it does is just continue to delay it, because it just becomes, we just need more data. We need better data. It gives a new threshold, reason for not coming to a conclusion. And you just, and it's just a new strategy, as opposed to deflecting the question or ridiculing people that expose it. They can't do any of that anymore. So just turn it into a science question. And the fact that, and the more it becomes a science question, and the more it is explained scientifically, let's face it, the more boring it becomes, because most people, won't understand it and can't challenge it, right? They don't have the capacity to sit down and challenge the numbers or challenge the physics in any meaningful way. And so it's the ultimate control mechanism. And again, not what we asked for, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's simply a delay tactic.
And they still think that the government still thinks that the public is going to panic. So Avi Loeb with his smiley face on TV, they could be using that as a way to kind of tamper down the panic that they think the public is going to feel. But yeah, Gene, I like listening to you. You seem to be right on the money. So I'll get off here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Great conversation, everybody. Yeah, it's been a great show. I just got called for dinner. So, and we are running a bit late. It's been a great show. Great Saturday. Happy Saturday today. It's been great having you around, Gene, today. Thank you for being part of the conversation.
Yeah, thanks. No, good to have time to join in. My schedule's changed at night I'm in bed a lot earlier, so it's.
I know what you mean.
I have this opportunity.
Yeah, I get up at 5 o'clock. Well, today was 5:30 to go ahead and work on the pork, which I have to go attend to. I've got alarms going off, so it's one of those things. You know, I did 35 pounds of pork in a side firebox smoker. Were we on for that part of the show?
I was on for you talking about pulling your pork and taking pictures of it. Yes.
Oh yeah, excellent, excellent. All right, thank you for being around, Daryl. Thanks for coming out, my friend.
Always fun. Great Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple super chats in. One, thanks to FaZe Will for starting off the super chats tonight. Another one from this is Liz W. I'm glad Gene was on our team today. Absolutely, 100%. And then Mike, back to you, my friend. It's always great having you around.
Great show. Yeah, it was a lot of fun today. Yeah. We went long like we usually do, and this is before Father's Day tomorrow, so we want to wish a happy Father's Day to everybody that joined us tonight and are in our audience.
Oh yeah, you never know who's watching, Mike.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
On that note, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. See you Monday. Take care now. Bye-bye.